I've been cooking a lot of videos lately, so this one is about cookbooks. Here are some tips you should consider in your next cookbook. Let me know what you think at the end of this video. If these tips are useful, leave it in the description of this video, leave in the comment of this video. Let me know what you think when you're done with this video. Now here are tips. There are about 5 to 6 tips you should consider in your next cookbook. If you write your next cookbook, make sure you implement these tips and let's see how it goes. Tip number 1 is to organize your recipes logically. Now, what I mean by organizing your recipes logically, it's that let's say you're writing a cookbook on rice, then you might do something like, okay, this is the main dish, rice. Then appetizers, you have crayfish, you have this as appetizers. Now, kind of, if you're listing your ingredients, kind of organize them. Don't just list out everything there at once. Let them know that, okay, this one is serving as an appetizer, this one is the main dish, this one is serving as a dessert, this one is serving like just something like that. Tip number 2 is to write clear and concise instructions. Now, write a step-by-step instruction that are easy to follow. Use concise language and be specific about measurement, cooking time, and techniques. Now, this is a cookbook, and people that are buying this book are going to follow what you wrote there to come up with that recipe, to come up with that food they want to cook. And some of them have not cooked something like that before, so they're depending completely on your book. So make sure you don't use a lot of grammar, write concise English. Now the steps should be serially, okay, step 1, do this, let it boil for this minute, like this, like this, like this, so that they'll know exactly how to go about it, so they won't end up coming up with something wrong and then giving your book a bad review. So that is it. Write clear and concise instructions. Don't use too much grammar, don't be too complex about your choice of words and stuff like that. Make sure it's concise English, specific about the measurements, cooking time. Don't just say add oil. Tell them add this amount of oil, this add quantity of oil, and like that. Now, tip number 3 is to include an introduction to each recipe. Now, if you're telling them, okay, this recipe is for fried rice, just do an introduction. Fried rice is a kind of rice, blah blah blah, was originated from this, significance of this. If it's a personal story about a rice, and this rice is known for doing something like this, that just kind of make it fun and entertaining. Don't just say, okay, recipe for fried rice, ingredients, rice, oil. No. Tell something, a little story or a little introduction about what to introduce to them. If it's beans, tell them, okay, beans is a food popularly known among, I'm just giving an example, right? I'm not saying this, popularly known among West Africans, like this, so they just get to know more about what they are trying to cook. Because the truth is, some people will buy cookbooks about foods they don't know anything about. For instance, as a Nigerian, you might decide to buy a cookbook about Spanish foods just to know how Spanish foods look like and how to prepare them. So it's interesting if you get to know more about the food. If there's a personal story about the food, tell it. How the food originated, if there's an origin about it, tell it, and just make it entertaining. Now, the next tip, which is tip number 4, is to use photography and visuals. Now, you can write cookbooks without the recipe. You can write a cookbook without photography, without the pictures of the diet. But how about you give them a picture of what they're about to prepare, so they just know, okay, this is how this thing looks like, and it's gonna make your book entertaining and more lively. Now, make sure you include pictures in your cookbook, and Amazon, they're gonna terminate your account or sanction your book if it's a copyrighted picture. So make sure you use pictures that are not copyrighted pictures, so you don't stand the risk of getting your account terminated. Now, the next tip is to list your ingredients in the order in which they are used. Now, this might sound funny, but it's really a good tip for you to use and to implement when you're writing your next cookbook. Don't just list your ingredients anyhow. List them in the order in which they are used. Okay, if you're preparing rice, the first ingredient you need is your rice, because this is the main ingredient. Then you need your water, you need your oil, you need your onions. List them in the way they are to be used, so that they know, okay, this is the first ingredient to use, this is the second one. It's just a way of making everything orderly. Instead of writing onions, tomatoes, everything, then now keep writing the main ingredient last. So they now start in step 1, pour rice in water, and they now say, oh, where's the rice? They now go to the ingredients, oh, rice is the last thing. I hope you got what I'm trying to say. So make sure you list your ingredients in the way in which they are used. It's very important and it's very professional to do it like that. Now, the next tip is to use testimonials. If it's a personal recipe, your own personal recipe, then you might want to include testimonials about people that have used it, what they said about it, just as a way of standing as an authority in that specific cookbook you are writing. Just a way of standing as an authority rather in that very book and food you are telling them or you're showing them how to cook. So if it's your personal recipe, you can just include this testimonial. Someone did this, this is what the person has said about this, like that. It's just a way of, you can include this in your description, and you can also include it before you start listing the procedure on how to prepare that very diet. The next tip is to provide variations in your book. For instance, you all agree with me that there is not just one way of preparing rice and beans. There are many ways of preparing rice and beans. The procedure might be the same, but ingredients might vary. So you can do something like, okay, if you want it to taste like this, if you want to have this kind of flavor, include this ingredient. Then if you want to have this kind of flavor, include this very ingredient. Not just make it look like there's just one way of arriving at everything. We all know it all depends on the flavor the person wants, the color the person wants, and stuff like that. So make sure you indicate things like that and make it clear that, okay, they can actually do it in this way if they want to have this kind of effect. They can do it in this way if they want to have this kind of effect. I believe you know what I'm trying to say. Now, the next tip, which is the last, is to give the nutritional information. Now, don't just tell them this is how to prepare rice. Okay, why should I prepare rice in the first place? Why should I want to eat rice? So tell them, okay, rice is good at carbohydrate. Research has said that it contains this amount of this. You can help your body do this. Now that's quite professional. If you see something like that, you know that, all right, this is why I should do this. I don't just want to prepare this because I want to know how this food tastes or how it looks like. This is how it can actually help me. This is what it can offer to my body and stuff like that. So just make sure you include nutritional information about your recipes. Now you can also include things like the calorie count. It can help you burn calories, can increase your calories, serving size. Make sure you serve no more than this to get the best results if you're eating it like that. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about these tips in the comments of this video, and if you enjoyed this video, like this video. If you have any question, of course, leave it in the comments and I'll answer it as fast as possible. Lastly, if you're watching this, if you're on this channel for the first time, then hit the subscribe button, turn on notification, and stay tuned for my subsequent videos. I do videos on KDP and about publishing generally. So if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and see you in my next video. Cheers.